The first thing I saw when I opened my door that night was a woman sitting on my porch swing like she had every right to be there. It was past midnight in Austin, and the street was quiet. My porch light was the only one still on in the whole block. I had just gotten home from a late shift at the hospital. I was tired, hungry, and ready to fall into bed. But then I saw her. She was sitting there in a simple white dress, her hands folded in her lap, her long, dark hair falling over her shoulders. She looked calm, almost peaceful, like she had been waiting for me for a long time. When she heard the door open, she looked up at me. Her eyes locked on mine, and I felt something strange in my chest. Not fear, not anger, something else, something that felt like I knew her. "You're finally home," she said softly. I stood frozen in my doorway. I had never seen her before in my life. "Ma'am," I said slowly, trying to stay calm, "can I help you?" She smiled at me. It was not a wide smile. It was small, almost sad. "You promised me," she said. The way she said it made my stomach drop. I stepped fully onto the porch and closed the door behind me. The night air was warm, but my hands felt cold. "I think you have the wrong house," I told her. "I don't even know you." She tilted her head a little, like she was studying my face. "You do," she whispered. "You just forgot." Those words hit me harder than they should have. I tried to think. Had I met her at work, at the grocery store, at church? She looked to be around my age, maybe late 20s. She had soft features, gentle eyes, and a quiet kind of beauty that did not try too hard. "I'm Daniel," I said carefully. "What's your name?" She looked down at her hands for a second, then back at me. "Emily," she said. The name meant nothing to me. But when she said it, something inside me tightened. "Emily," I repeated. "I don't remember making any promise to you." She let out a small breath, almost like a weak laugh. "I know you don't," she said, "but you did. 7 years ago." 7 years ago, my mind went back fast. 7 years ago, I was in college in Dallas. I was young, careless, always running from one thing to another. I dated a few girls back then, but nothing serious. Nothing that ended with promises that would bring someone to my porch at midnight. "I think you're confused," I said, trying to keep my voice steady. "Maybe you meant someone else." She stood up slowly from the swing. The movement made my heart beat faster. She was not threatening. She was not angry. But the way she walked toward me made the night feel heavier. She stopped just a few steps away from me, close enough that I could see the light shine in her eyes. "You told me," she said softly, "that if I ever needed you, I could come find you, no matter what." Her voice shook a little at the end. I swallowed hard. That sounded like something I would say. I had always been the kind of guy who tried to save people, tried to fix things, tried to be the good one. But I still did not remember her. I say that to a lot of people. I admitted quietly. It doesn't mean I remember every face. Her eyes filled with something that looked like hurt. "I remember yours," she said. The silence between us felt thick. I could hear the sound of crickets from the yard. A car drove far away down the street, but here on my porch, it felt like the world had stopped. "Why are you here?" I asked. She looked over my shoulder at the door, then back at me. "Because I need you now." The way she said it made my chest tighten again. "For what?" I asked. She hesitated. For the first time, she looked nervous. "Can we sit?" she asked quietly. "Please." I should have told her to leave. I should have called someone, but something in her eyes made it impossible. I stepped aside and motioned toward the porch swing. We both sat down. There was a small space between us, but it felt smaller with every second. "7 years ago," she began, her voice low, "you were volunteering at a shelter in Dallas." My heart skipped. I had done that during my last year in college. A friend of mine had convinced me to help out on weekends. I had almost forgotten about it. "There was a storm that night," she continued. "I came in soaked. I had nowhere else to go." Quote, "My breathing slowed. I remembered the storm. I remembered the chaos. But her face still felt blank in my mind. "You were the only one who talked to me like I mattered," she said. "You gave me your jacket. You sat with me until I fell asleep." A faint image began to form. A girl sitting on a cot. Wet hair. shaking hands. "You told me I deserved a better life," she said. "You said I was stronger than I thought. And before you left, you wrote your address on a piece of paper." My throat felt dry. "I told you," she said, looking straight into my eyes now, "that if I ever found the courage to start over, I would come find you." I stared at her. "And you told me," she whispered, "that you would be here." A deep guilt started to grow in my chest. I remembered writing my address for someone. I remembered saying something hopeful. But I never thought anyone would actually come. "Emily," I said slowly, "that was 7 years ago. People say things when they're young." She nodded, like she'd expected that answer. "I know," she said, "but I held on to it. I held on to you." Quote. The way she said it made something shift inside me. She looked different now, not just like a stranger, not just like a memory. She looked like someone who had been carrying my words in her heart for years. "I didn't come here for money," she added quickly. "Or a place to stay." "Then why?" I asked softly. She reached into her bag and pulled out a small folded piece of paper. It was worn and old. She handed it to me. I opened it slowly. It was my handwriting, my old address in Austin, my name, and at the bottom, a line I barely remembered writing. "If you ever need me, I promise I won't turn you away." My heart pounded hard in my chest. I looked up at her. She was watching me, her eyes filled with fear and hope at the same time. "You promised me," she said again. And for the first time that night, I realized this was not about the past. This was about what I was going to do now. I stared at that old piece of paper in my hands like it was something alive. The ink was faded, but it was clearly mine. I could even see the small habit I used to have, where I pressed harder on the last letter of my name. I used to think it made my signature look stronger. Back then, I thought I was strong too. When I looked up at Emily again, she was watching my face like she was waiting for a verdict. "I didn't think you'd really come," I admitted quietly. She gave me a small smile that did not reach her eyes. "I almost didn't," she said. "I carried that paper for years. I moved 3 times. I changed jobs. I tried to forget that night." The porch light made her eyes shine, and I could see how tired she looked. Not just tired from tonight, tired from life. "What happened?" I asked gently. She looked down at her hands again. Her fingers were shaking slightly. "After that storm, I tried to do what you said," she began. "You told me I wasn't broken. You told me I could start over. So I did. I got a job at a diner. I rented a small room. I stayed away from the people who used to hurt me." Her voice was calm, but I could hear the pain under it. "For a while it worked," she said. I felt like I was building something. I felt a strange pride in my chest. I did not even remember saying those words to her, but somehow they had mattered. "Then last month," she continued, "everything fell apart." My heart tightened. The diner closed. The owner sold it. I lost my job. I couldn't afford my rent anymore. She paused, like she was choosing what to say next. "And someone from my past found me." The way she said that made my jaw clench. "Someone who hurt you?" I asked. She nodded slowly. "He said I still owed him," she whispered, "for helping me before. He started showing up at my apartment. He said if I didn't pay him back, he would make my life hard again." Anger rose inside me fast. I did not even know this man, but I already hated him. "Did he touch you?" I asked, my voice low. She shook her head quickly. "No, but he could. He knows where I live. He knows I have no one." The words "no one" hit me harder than I expected. "You have me," I said before I could stop myself. She looked up at me, and for the first time that night, her eyes filled with tears. "That's why I came," she said softly. "Not because I expect you to save me, not because you owe me anything, but because you once told me I deserved someone who wouldn't walk away." The silence that followed felt heavy and full. 7 years ago, I had been a young guy who liked to say big things. I had wanted to feel like a hero. But now, sitting here on my porch in Austin, I was not a hero. I was just a nurse with student loans in a small house. "Emily," I said carefully, "what exactly are you asking from me?" She took a deep breath. "I need somewhere safe for a little while," she said, "just until I find a new job." Just until I can move somewhere, he can't find me." The words hung between us. Let her stay. The idea scared me. I did not know her. Not really. She was still almost a stranger. But she was also not a stranger. She was the girl from the storm. The one I had sat beside. The one whose shaking hands I had held while thunder hit the windows. A memory came back clearer now. I remembered her crying quietly in the dark. I remembered telling her she was safe for the night. "Daniel," she said softly, pulling me back to the present. "If you say no, I will understand. I know this is crazy. I know I showed up out of nowhere, but I didn't know where else to go." Her voice broke at the end. I looked at her, really looked at her. She was not dressed fancy. Her white dress was simple and a little wrinkled. Her shoes looked worn. She had a small bag at her feet, like everything she owned was inside it. She had trusted my words for 7 years. If I turned her away now, what would that say about me? "Does he know you came here?" I asked. She shook her head. "No. I left without telling anyone. I took a bus this morning. I have been sitting here since 10. "You've been on my porch for 2 hours?" I asked. She nodded. "I was scared to knock," she admitted. That hit me in a place I did not expect. She had been sitting outside my house in the dark, hoping I would come home. I stood up from the swing and ran a hand through my hair. My heart was racing. "I have a guest room," I said slowly. "It's small, but it's clean." Her breath caught. "I can't promise I'll fix everything," I added quickly, "but I can promise you'll be safe here." For a second, she just stared at me like she could not believe what she heard. Then she stood up too. "You're not turning me away?" she asked softly. I shook my head. "I guess I don't break promises," I said. That was when she did something I did not expect. She stepped closer and wrapped her arms around me. It was not bold. It was not dramatic. It was soft and desperate and full of relief. Her face pressed against my chest, and I could feel her shaking. "Thank you," she whispered. My arms slowly came up around her. She felt smaller than I remembered. Fragile, but strong in a quiet way. As I held her, I felt something change inside me. This was not just about helping someone. This was about her. About the way her voice sounded when she said my name. About the way my heart felt when she looked at me. But just as I started to relax, my phone buzzed loudly in my pocket. The sudden sound made both of us jump. I pulled it out and looked at the screen. Unknown number. At this hour, I felt a cold chill run down my spine. I answered slowly, "Hello?" There was silence on the other end for a second. Then a man's voice spoke, low and calm. "Is Emily there with you?" My heart stopped. I looked down at her. She had gone pale. The man on the phone let out a small laugh. "You think she can hide from me?" he said quietly. "Tell her I'm on my way." The moment he said that, the line went dead. I stood there with the phone still pressed to my ear, my heart pounding so loud I could barely hear anything else. Emily was staring at me, her face drained of color. "He found me," she whispered. I forced myself to stay calm. Panic would not help her. Panic would not help me. "How would he know you're here?" I asked quickly. She shook her head, her eyes wide. "I don't know. I turned off my phone. I didn't tell anyone." I looked down at my own phone. The number was still on the screen. Unknown. No caller ID. "He said he's on his way." I told her. Her breathing got faster. I could see the fear spreading through her like a shadow. "He won't just talk," she said softly. "He never just talks." A deep protective feeling rose inside me. I had never met this man, but I already knew one thing. He was not stepping onto my porch and scaring her again. "Come inside," I said firmly. I unlocked the door and guided her in. The house felt different now, smaller, like the walls were listening. I locked the door behind us and turned off the porch light. The living room was dim, lit only by a lamp near the couch. "You're safe here," I told her again, even though I was not fully sure what that meant anymore. She stood close to me, her hands shaking. I could see tears building in her eyes, but she was trying hard not to let them fall. "I'm sorry," she said suddenly. "I didn't mean to bring this to you." "You didn't bring anything to me," I said. "He did." I walked to the window and carefully moved the curtain just enough to see outside. The street was still empty, quiet, too quiet. "Does he know what I look like?" I asked. She nodded slowly. "I showed him your address once," she said, her voice full of guilt. "Years ago. When I was stupid, when I thought he was trying to help me." That stung, but I pushed it aside. The past was not the problem right now. "Okay," I said, thinking fast. "If he shows up, I'm calling the police." She looked unsure. "He's smart," she said. "He knows how to leave before trouble starts." "That may be true," I said, "but he doesn't get to threaten you in my house." She stared at me like she was seeing me clearly for the first time. "You really mean that?" she said. "Yes." I answered without hesitation. For a moment, the fear in her eyes softened. Something else replaced it. Trust. Then headlights turned the corner at the end of the street. My stomach dropped. A dark sedan moved slowly down the road. It did not pass by. It slowed in front of my house. Emily grabbed my arm. "That's him," she whispered. The car stopped. I could feel her shaking against me. The engine stayed on. The headlights were still shining at the house like two bright eyes. "Stay here," I said quietly. "No," she said quickly, holding on to me tighter. "Don't go out there." "I'm not going out," I said. "I'm just watching." The driver's door opened. A tall man stepped out. Even from a distance, I could see the way he carried himself. Calm, confident, like he believed the world belonged to him. He walked up to the edge of the yard and stopped. He did not come to the door. He just stood there, staring at the house. My jaw tightened. He pulled out his phone and held it to his ear. At the same time, my phone started ringing again. Emily gasped. I answered without breaking eye contact with him through the window. "What do you want?" I said firmly. His voice was smooth. Too smooth. "I just want to talk," he said. "You don't have to make this difficult." "You've already made it difficult," I replied. He chuckled softly. "She always runs," he said. "You know that. She thinks new cities will save her. New people." Emily's grip on my arm tightened. "She doesn't belong to you," I said. There was a short silence. "You don't even know her," he replied. "You think one night at a shelter makes you special?" His words hit harder than I expected. Maybe he was right. Maybe I did not know her fully, but I knew enough. "I know she's scared," I said, "and I know you're the reason." His tone shifted slightly. "Careful," he warned. "You don't know who you're talking to." I stepped away from the window so he could not see me clearly. "I don't care who you are," I said. "You leave now, or I call the police." Another pause. Then he laughed again. "You think she won't come back?" he asked quietly. "She always does." Emily shook her head fiercely, tears now falling down her cheeks. "No," she whispered. "Not this time." I looked at her and something inside me settled. "She's not going anywhere with you," I said into the phone. The man's voice turned cold. "This isn't over." Then he ended the call. Outside, he stood still for a few more seconds, just staring. Then he got back in his car. The engine grew louder. The headlights shifted. The car slowly drove away and disappeared down the street. The silence that followed felt unreal. Emily collapsed against me, crying quietly. "He'll come back," she said between tears. "He always comes back." Quote. I wrapped my arms around her and held her close. "Then he'll find me here every time," I said. She looked up at me, her face wet with tears. "Why are you doing this?" she asked softly. "You barely know me." I brushed a strand of hair away from her face. "Maybe I should have known you," I admitted. "Maybe I forgot someone who mattered." Her breathing slowed as she searched my eyes. "And now?" she asked. I swallowed, my heart beating in a different way now. Not just fear, something deeper. "Now I'm not letting you face him alone," I said. She leaned into me again, but this time it felt different. Less desperate, more certain. As I held her in my living room, I realized something. 7 years ago, I had given her hope for one night. Tonight, she had given me something too, purpose, and maybe something even more dangerous. Feelings I was not ready to name. But just as the tension started to ease, a loud knock echoed against the front door. 3 hard knocks. Not polite. not patient. Emily froze in my arms. My heart pounded again. He was back, and this time he was not sitting in his car. The knocking came again, harder this time. The sound shook the door and sent a sharp fear through the room. Emily's fingers dug into my shirt. I could feel her heartbeat racing against my chest. "He wouldn't leave that fast," she whispered. "He likes to scare first." I moved her gently behind me and walked toward the door. Every step felt heavy, but my mind was clear. I was not letting him push his way into this house. Not tonight. "Stay back," I told her quietly. The knocking stopped. For a second, there was silence. Then a voice came through the door. "Daniel, it's Austin Police." I froze. Emily's breath caught behind me. "Police?" she whispered. I looked through the small side window carefully. 2 officers stood on the porch. Flashing lights reflected faintly down the street. I had not even heard the sirens. I opened the door slowly. "Yes?" I asked. One of the officers, a middle-aged man with calm eyes, spoke first. "We received a call about a disturbance," he said. "A man reported that his girlfriend was being held here against her will." My jaw tightened. "That's not true," I said firmly. The officer looked past me into the house. "Ma'am," he called gently, "are you okay?" Emily stepped forward from behind me. She looked scared, but she stood straight. "I'm fine," she said clearly. "I came here on my own." The officers exchanged a glance. "Do you know a man named Victor Hale?" the younger officer asked. Emily went pale again. "Yes," she said softly. "He claims you ran away with important documents and that you're unstable," the officer continued. "He said you might harm yourself." I felt anger rise so fast I had to take a breath before speaking. "That's a lie," I said. "He was just here." He threatened her. The older officer studied my face carefully. "Did he come onto your property?" he asked. "Yes," I answered. "He stood at the edge of the yard. Called me." Emily nodded. "He's been following me for weeks," she added. "He won't leave me alone." The officers seemed to understand. The older one gave a slow nod. "We've had a few reports about him before," he said quietly. "Nothing that stuck. He's careful." "Of course he was. Is he still nearby?" I asked. The younger officer shook his head. "His car was spotted heading toward the highway a few minutes ago," he said. "But if he comes back, you call us right away." He handed me a card. "We'll file a report," he added. "Ma'am, if you'd like to press charges for harassment, we can help you start that." Emily looked unsure. "I've tried before," she said softly. "He always finds a way to twist things." The older officer's voice softened. "Things change when there are witnesses," he said, glancing at me. "You're not alone now." That sentence seemed to land deep in her chest. After a few more questions, the officers left. Their car pulled away and the street went quiet again. I closed the door and locked it carefully. The house felt calmer, but the night had changed something between us. Emily stood in the middle of the living room, looking smaller than before. Not weak, just tired from fighting something too long. "I'm so sorry," she said again. I walked toward her slowly. "Stop apologizing," I said gently. "You didn't do anything wrong." She looked up at me with eyes that were still shining from tears. "I brought chaos to your door," she whispered. I shook my head. "You brought truth to mine." She blinked, confused. "I make promises too easily," I said honestly. "I say big things. I try to be the good guy. But tonight, I realized something." She waited quietly. "I don't want to help you because of some old piece of paper," I continued. "I want to help you because I care." The words felt heavy and real as they left my mouth. Her breath caught slightly. "You care?" she asked softly. "Yes," I said. "Maybe I didn't remember your face. Maybe I forgot that storm. But I didn't forget the kind of person I wanted to be that night." I stepped closer to her. "And I think you never forgot either." A tear slid down her cheek, but this one felt different. Not just fear, something warmer. "You were the first person who looked at me like I wasn't damaged," she said quietly. I held on to that because I didn't know how to let go. I reached up and gently wiped the tear away. "You're not damaged," I said. She closed her eyes at my touch for just a second. The air between us felt softer now. Still fragile, but no longer filled with panic. "Victor thinks I'll come back," she admitted. He thinks I always need him." "You don't," I said. She opened her eyes again. "How are you so sure?" she asked. "Because you got on a bus and crossed 2 states alone," I answered. "Because you sat on a porch for 2 hours instead of running back. Because you're braver than you think." She stared at me like I had just handed her something precious. Silence settled gently between us. Then she spoke again, her voice barely above a whisper. "Daniel, if I stay here, I don't want to just hide." "What do you want?" I asked. "I want to build something real," she said. "A job, a life, maybe even something that feels like home." Her eyes searched mine carefully when she said that last word. Home. I felt my heart respond before my mind could. "You can start here," I said quietly. She stepped closer, slowly this time, not desperate, not afraid, just honest. "And you?" she asked softly. "What do you want?" The question caught me off guard. I had spent years working, sleeping, repeating. I had not really wanted anything deeply in a long time. "Until tonight. I want you to feel safe," I said, "and I want to see what happens if we stop running from what we feel." Her breath trembled slightly. "What do we feel?" she asked. I did not look away. "I feel like that storm 7 years ago never really ended," I said. "Like it brought you back to me for a reason." Her eyes filled again, but this time they were not sad. Before I could overthink it, I reached for her hand. She let me hold it. The contact was warm and steady. "Stay," I said softly. "Not because of a promise, not because you have nowhere else to go. Stay because you choose to." Her lips parted slightly, and I saw something beautiful in her face. "Choice. I choose to," she whispered. The words wrapped around my heart like something solid and real. Outside, the street was finally quiet. Inside, something new had begun. Victor might come back. The past might try again. But tonight she was not alone. And neither was I. For the first time in years, my house did not feel empty. It felt like the start of something we had both been waiting for.